very good Monday afternoon to everyone. It is March 13th. Welcome to the Sports Note. Did we have a good weekend of sports this weekend. We had Scotty Scheffler kind of coasting at the in the final round at the Players at Sawgrass under horrific conditions where he actually saw 5 of the last 10 players in front of him put balls into the drink on that infamous Island Green on 17. We had a whole slate full of XFL action. We had a full slate of NBA. We had some great games on the ice in the NHL. We saw Detroit snap Boston's winning streak on Sunday. And of course, we also had March Madness. But the one story going into, or at least the very outset of the weekend, that got all the attention Friday night going into early Saturday was not conference tournaments on both the men's and women's side. It was in college baseball. And a lot of you have probably seen what we're going to talk about today briefly here, and that's what happened between the New Orleans Privateers and the Mississippi Valley State Delta Devils. Now, full disclosure, I was a bit of a New Orleans University fan growing up. My dad took a trip down to New Orleans and brought me back some Saints gear when I was a kid, and I always kind of had an affinity for for the Saints. Even in the back of my fandom when they were rivals with the Rams for a while. Keep an eye here and there on the Privateers. I'm not certainly anywhere near the fan now that I was, say, 15, 20, 25 years ago. Couldn't actually name a single player up until this weekend with college baseball. They actually have not been, very good in college basketball in a number of years. They don't host college football. But this was something that when I saw it, I did kind of gravitate towards it a little bit. For those of you who did not see, the home plate umpire, and we're going to get to him by name here in a couple of moments, ended the game in extremely controversial fashion. New Orleans and Mississippi Valley State had not met in baseball since 2006, and there was good reason for that. It's because New Orleans had dominated the Devils, winning the last 6 contests, scoring 71 runs in the last 5. As a matter of fact, the closest these two teams have played in recent memory, and also let's add the this weekend series into that, was a 3-2 game back in 2005, I want to say it was. New Orleans has been a member of the Southland Conference since 2013, whereas MVSU is one of the more historic black colleges and universities, so the HBCU schools. And with the victory on Friday night, which we're going to talk to about here right now, New Orleans goes to 9-5 on their young slate. MVSU goes now to 6-7. With the game already basically decided at that point. It's 7-3. It's the top of the ninth. There's 2 down. The bases are empty for the Delta Devils, and leadoff hitter Devon Mims steps in. Now, Mims was 1 for 5 on the day, did have 2 strikeouts, did account for 1 of the 3 RBIs for the Devils that day, did leave 3 men on base, but stepped in with a 1-1 count, and the closer for New Orleans, Trey Uzi. No, I will not make the Sami Zayn joke or the Bloodline joke because that's terrible. Basically, his 1-1 offering is in the dirt. It's over the plate, but it's easily a foot low, and privateer catcher George Tejeda basically has to pick it off the dirt at that point, and home plate umpire Reggie Drummer calls this strike 2. Extremely questionable. Even the privateer home announcers to question this. Emmanuel Pepis certainly found it a little suspect. Davis immediately jumped up, kind of did a 180 kind of pirouette, stepped back into the box, called for time, which was not granted, and that would have been the first sign. Actually, that's sign number two of what Drummer apparently had up his sleeve that nobody else knew. In this regard, the first would actually be making that call for strike two, and then secondly would not be granting time. Mims steps in after pointing with the barrel of his bat as to where the ball was to show how low it was, and then Usi's 1-2 delivery ends up a good foot into the opposite batter's box. It wasn't even so much that it tailed off at the end and caught a corner. This ball wouldn't have actually caught a corner if the plate extended all the way to the lines of the batter's box. It was clearly a foot and a half, almost 2 feet outside. If Mims would have been a left-handed hitter, this ball, he would have had to jump to get out of the way of this ball hitting him in the knee. And then Drummer decides to call that strike three, end the game. Pepis, again, the UNO announcer, is beside himself. Yes, his team does win the game, but it's the matter of the egregious call, and when the home announcer is saying just how bad of a call this is, calling it awful, is politely not calling it garbage, but calling it everything other than that. He even says, quote, Reggie Drummer just wanted to go home, and he was absolutely right. This was bias. I don't know what happened. I don't know if Drummer, wanted to catch was going to miss a taxi or an Uber or a flight home. I didn't know if he wanted to get back to his hotel and see what kind of coverage he might get on the 11 p.m. Sports Center that night. I don't know if he wanted to go home and watch, a couple more of the conference tournaments. I didn't know if he wanted to get home and watch maybe the Pac-12 semifinal games. At that point, it was irrelevant. It was easily one of the worst ball and strike calls you will ever see in the history of baseball at any level, and it cannot stand. Considering all the advances that Major League Baseball has taken, and we're just a couple of weeks away from the start of the regular season, we've seen how the pitch clock has already caused the outcome of at least two spring training games. The larger bases are going to add up, with offense over the course of the year. We're going to see what the shift being eliminated does to heighten scoring and also help shorten the games a little bit in that aspect. We've already seen what the pitch clock is doing to speed up the game. There's already some early reports saying it's taking 20 minutes off the game already as is. But the one thing that they missed was the ability to put in robot umpires. And I'm not saying take the umpires completely off the field, but it's also something that if you're going to do that for balls and strikes, you get the call right, but you also have the umpire at home for decisions, for appeals, things of that nature. You're not going to have entirely automated things, because then that's actually where your game gets longer, because then you're actually waiting on the computer. What if the computer crashes, or if there's a lag or something like that? And let's also be honest that you probably could not put it in every single school at every single level or every single minor league ballpark. You certainly could do it at the major league level. You probably could do it at the minor league level in some capacity, but there's also 309 Division I teams, and not everyone has the $6 million budgets that an LSU has, or a $5.3 million budget like an Ole Miss would have. Mississippi Valley State has entire program operating expenses for their baseball program of about $170,000, considering the average. The mean in college baseball is around $400,000. So Mississippi Valley State is in the bottom 10 of operating expenses as an entire program. not just as the school on the whole or their entire athletic department, but their baseball program, and that's actually why certain smaller schools drop baseball. I know that being a Cleveland State, I don't want to say alumnus, but being a Cleveland State student, the baseball program was dropped. The wrestling program was dropped for a while and then brought back. They picked up lacrosse because it's not as expensive as baseball. They could not find a home baseball field for a number of years. But New Orleans operates at 700 at about 740. I want to say it's 742 or 745,000, somewhere in there. So just a smidge under the 750 plateau. So it's still above the average, but this is actually where the robot umpiring would have happened. Sure, the game would have been in doubt, but what happens if Mims get on as the leadoff hitter? If he steals second, if he scores, then we're looking at a 7-4 ball game, and you never know what happens. Even with 2 down, it's never over until the final pitch. But what occurred with Drummer was absolutely egregious, and kudos to the Southland Conference for coming out with a statement on Saturday afternoon in the wake of all those conference tournament games going on, indicating that Drummer had been removed from the final 2 games of the series, which UNO proceeded to win 35-3 and 16-3, and then those games were actually shortened to 7 innings. That 35-3 on Saturday was a UNO school record, breaking the previous mark of 32 set a number of years ago. And again, a 3-game sweep for the Privateers, but it's not the record of runs in the 3-game series, and certainly not the school record that anyone's talking about. It's the actions of one rogue umpire who just wanted to go home and was sick and tired of sitting there knowing he had to be back the following 2 days and was going to be there for more of the same. So let me know what you guys think. Was this the worst call you've ever seen? Was this worse than anything Angel Hernandez has ever done? And we know Angel Hernandez has got some bad ones. Do we need robot umpires for balls and strikes? Does this actually mean then, if you're going to be doing that, do you actually eliminate one of the umpires from the crew, because there were only 3 in the crew at this game? What other rule changes do you think baseball needs to go to, even in this as more of a necessity, because instances like this are now starting to make the call for robot umpires be a little bit more to the forefront, and it's only a matter of time before that's going to change, and these purists are going to have to wake up a little bit. We are confirmed. We have the Wiseies. They are ready. The envelopes are in. They have been hermetically sealed in a mayonnaise jar on Funkin' Wagnall's porch, and please tell me some of you get that reference. We will be back with you guys on Friday night for the Wise Guys Sports Show. It's going to have a little bit new look. We've also got a little bit of a wrinkle that's going to be involved. We also have 2 very big announcements coming at some point during Friday's show for the future of the Wise Guys Sports Show as April turns over. So you're definitely going to want to catch those. And I will try to be back with you before the Wiseies, but certainly if I don't, and you might see me maybe go on a little bit of a hiatus for a little bit. I'm not really going to be taking any time off, but just maybe this is the perfect time of the year to kind of sit back and just enjoy March Madness for what it is, not have to put out blogs left and right, and just enjoy some games. So everyone, take care, and we will see you.